Hello, and welcome back to JC's Writing Advice. I am JC Bybee, indie author, YouTuber, and writer coach. You can find my books and my writer coaching services at jcbybee.com. You can also go to Patreon, where you can support me and help me buy a chair that doesn't squeak. You can get access to deleted scenes from my books and exclusive short stories that are only available to subscribers. So today we are going to go into a little bit more about some character work. I'm going to do something that I don't do a lot of, and I think I need to improve upon, and that is doing character outlines. And speaking of one of the short stories on Patreon, we're going to use my cyberpunk meets cosmic horror story main character as my example today. So go over here, and if you remember from my video about plot arcs and in the beginning we need to establish who our main character is. So over here on this screen, hopefully, there we go, I have, and it's going to be hard to see until I zoom in, but let's zoom in a little bit more. There. All right, so these are the ideas that I have to help with my character. So I know her name. We're going to write it in over here. The name she goes by in the book is Midnight. That is her primary name. She's female. There we go. I can type. So what you're also seeing as I work is this is how I keep my characters organized and my books organized. When I am working, I will have these documents. I have a document like this for all of my books, and I try to keep it updated with varying degrees of success. I occasionally miss important details, but those are usually descriptors more than they are like motivations. Aliases, right now I'm just going to put her one alias that we know of, and we're going to go from there. So who is Midnight? Things to think about. We talk about this on my podcast that I'm part of. We talked recently about character work. Tyler Hess and I talked about some of the major aspects of what your character needs to make them feel real and fleshed out. So one of the things you want to think about is what motivates your character. So Midnight's motivations are pretty straightforward. She's motivated by survival, really. She lives in the city, and I don't reference any specific city, it's just the city. It's an enormous megalopolis, decaying megalopolis, that occupies huge swaths of land and is ruled over by the city council and the governor or the mayor or whatever. But for her, she doesn't want to be part of the system that runs the city. She doesn't like the mega corporations that have taken over, really. So, want to be part of the system. And the funny thing is she has, when we go over to the aliases, this Krista alias is sort of part of the system, because when she's not working a contract job, she has this almost like an alter ego where she works in a part of the city that is sort of normal life for most people in this world. And she works at a restaurant / bar and tries to use that as a buffer against the weirdness and the insanity that is the rest of her life. So, like I said, survival is a big part of her motivation. She works to have food, to pay her rent, essentially, and to be able to do the things that she wants to do. And that seems like a shallow motivation for a main character. And starting out, I want it to appear that that's why she does things. She does it because she's good at it and she can survive. That's another thing. She's good at her job. She's good at contract work in the sense that she fills the role of the muscle of the group really, really well. And in classic cyberpunk, again, need to brush up on some of my terminology, but she sort of fits into this street samurai kind of idea. I don't use all of the ideas and terms and tropes that William Gibson set out in his Neuromancer book, but there are similarities and there are some tropes, and I've changed them up because I've added in this cosmic horror aspect to it. There are things that exist outside of normal perception that they're the ones that are really running things, and they have their own motivations and their own desires. And she, Midnight, she knows about them. And she knows more than some and less than others, I guess you could say. So part of what motivates her is survival. She doesn't want to be a part of the system, and she is good at her job. She has a very clear something that I want to make important. She has a very clear moral compass, but is not quote good guy. So, in a world like the city, in a world like Midnight in the City, everything's sort of grayish. You do what you need to do to survive. And some people say have various philosophical discussions about good and evil and the nature of humanity, but this world has come about simply because people just stopped caring. There's no great big global conflict or one inciting incident. This is a world in decline, a world in decay, despite the technological advances and everything that drives it. The world of Midnight in the City is a world in decline. It's a decadent, declining society where apathy sort of motivates everything. And not in the sense of I don't want to do anything. It's apathy toward anything other than myself. It's the people that you encounter generally most of them don't care much about others. Midnight And most of the contractors care about themselves and those in their immediate circle. So that's something that we're going to pop down here. We're going to talk about allies. I'll note this over in my characters document in a second, but currently, when the book starts, we know that Midnight has one specific ally, and that's Sim. Sim is her roommate / security consultant. Well, roommate / partner in crime. There we go. We'll talk about Sim maybe on a different episode. So, Midnight and Sim, they have a unique relationship because of shared trauma. I hate using that word. I hate using that concept. It fits in this scenario. They both have tragedies in their pasts that have brought them to the situation that they're in. And in some ways, they are very similar. Just Sim is the digital existence opposite or mirror of Midnight. Other allies. Let's see here. When we start out, I will say that she has one more ally that we know of, and that is Tim the Tap Man. And we meet him at the beginning. And he's just another contractor. The difference between him and her is Tim has a crew. But Tim also knows the limits of his crew, so he hires Midnight on the regular to act as muscle. Because she's really good at that. She is the muscle. We'll get into descriptions, but one of the things over here we have, is she enhanced? Yes. She is as close to... She's about 75% robot, or cyborg, or organics, techno-organic organism. She's not a mutant, so she has no dependencies. And she's about 25. So those are the quick, easy things to fill in. Those are easy. Mutant and dependency we'll talk about later. But that's who Midnight is. We've got her motivation. Her motivation is survival. She doesn't want to be a part of the system in the city. She's good at her job, so she enjoys what she does. I need to put that. Good at her job and enjoys contract work. And a very clear moral compass, but is not a good guy. Midnight can and will kill you if she views you as a hindrance to her getting her job done. Because of how powerful she is physically, she doesn't view as many people, regular people, as a threat. She's not stupid, though. There are lots of threats in this world. And when we meet her, she is on a job. She's acting as an enforcer at the beginning of the book. So, what is her core motivation? What is her deeper motivation? We don't know. I don't really know 100% what drives Midnight right now, which makes her a little bit of an interesting character to write, a little bit of a difficult character to write. Especially if you compare her to somebody like my first main character, Ace. Ace has clear motivations. She is the Superman of the hero unit world, and she knows that she has a responsibility, or believes, and has a core belief that it's her responsibility to use her power to protect other people. Midnight has power. She's not as powerful as Ace. Nowhere near as powerful as Ace. I wouldn't even say she's as powerful as my other main character, Aurora or Jessica Collinsworth. She is very strong, she is very fast, she is very durable, but she can't tank a bullet the way Jessica or Ace can. Bullets are going to, especially a high caliber rifle, is going to cause her some problems. So what is her deeper motivation? That's a really good question. And that's something, I think part of the reason why I'm struggling with this series is she doesn't currently have one. And the version you can find on Patreon right now will probably go away, and I'll put up a better version after getting some feedback from my writers group about it. And part of it is, like I said, I don't have a good handle on her, as good a handle as I thought. I like the world, I like the setting, I like the idea. But I don't know this one question right here, the deeper motivation, is kind of hanging me up. And again, some of it is plot progression stuff. I'm trying to get my pacing right with the story. I've revealed a few things too early in the version that I have right now. Not that it's available, not that this part's available on Patreon yet, but so that's one of the struggles I'm dealing with. And one of the struggles a lot of writers will deal with is they'll start writing their story and they'll run into this hang up and they'll not be 100% certain where to go. Well, sometimes you need to go back to your character work, your character document. And I really do recommend setting up something like this Excel file that I have for keeping track of your characters. Because if you have a spot, for example, I'm going to come over here. We're going to insert, I'm going to put motivation. And that motivation is what can help me. So survival is one. Freedom. And enjoys your job. Contract work. Because to her, contract work feels a little bit more real than sort of the rest of the city system. There we go. All right. So why am I talking like this? Why are we doing it? Well, we go back to my talking about starting your book. Who is your main character? You need to be able to answer that question. You need to answer the question, why are we in their particular head? What makes their POV or their thought process or their angle on the situation so important? And then you have to give us something to care about. And I think that's part of what I'm struggling with. Some people will just pick up the book and whatever POV character they're with, they immediately form an attachment to that character, unless they're really poorly written. With Midnight, giving the reader something to care about is a little bit difficult, and I'm struggling with that. It's kind of why I'm making this video, to try to talk it out. So these are things that you need to think about as you are starting your story. You might have your whole plot arc planned out from beginning to end and know point A, point B, point C. But if you don't have a good handle on, especially your main character, your primary POV character, you're going to stumble along the way because you're not going to be able to answer the question, why is this character doing this thing? And why do they keep doing it? Because you want to make sure your motivations are consistent. And I guess a big part for Midnight, as an example, pop back over here. We got survival, freedom, enjoys contract work. Midnight doesn't want to be part of the city, the system. In fact, people that work in the city for the mega corporations are referred to by contractors as corpses. They don't view them as alive. They almost don't view them as human because they are stuck in the machine, as it were. And the contractors aren't. They're free. They're free to act in their view. Never mind the fact that they can only act if a corporation asks them to, because that's where their jobs come from. But that's a whole other side of the philosophy. And the fact that she's not a good guy, because her motivations are more selfish. And that's one of the things that we'll deal with as the story develops. Anyway, this one's getting a little long-winded, so I thank you for stopping by. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me talk, to listen to me do my thing. I appreciate you giving any comments, ideas, suggestions, and for supporting me. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. I'll always remain respectful. And if you like what you've heard, please give it a like. Share to other people that might be interested. Subscribe to my channel. Encourage other people to subscribe. That way, more people can hear what I have to say. More people can hopefully get some inspiration in their writing. And with that, dear listener, to quote my third-person POV compatriots, I bid you good day.